Good evening, YouTube. My name is Dan, and I'm the coach of your St. Louis Rampardos. Week 9 is upon us here in the GBA, and the St. Louis Rampardos are going to be taking on the Borussia Donphan and Lars coach Scizor, who is 5-3 so far and only one game behind us in our division. We are currently sitting at 6-2 with a nice 4-game winning streak, riding the back of Pokemon like Salamence, Jolteon, and Victini. We've done very, very well so far, coming out 6-2 to open up the gates. However, these last final 4 matches are going to be what determine the future of our season and whether or not we're going to be making playoffs. So we have a very, very challenging matchup ahead of us going against Lars, and after that we're taking on the 7-1 Atlanta Hawluchas in the following week. We've got Gym Leader Geo, another division rival who is 4-4, and then Old Man Tup, who is also 4-4. All of those 3 out of our last 4 matches are within the division, and they all have huge playoff implications, as the team that wins the division obviously makes the playoffs. Excuse me. And then the top 2 teams that don't win the division in the conference will also make the playoffs as wild cards. So we do have a chance to make the playoffs still. Everything looks really good, but this match is the most important right now, and we need to focus on this match, and that's what we're going to do. So before we jump into things here, if you guys enjoy and support the St. Louis Rampardos, please show your love on that like button down below, as it does help out the channel. And don't forget, St. Louis Rampardos t-shirts are still available. You can check those out in the description below as well. One last side note, because people have been asking me a lot. Again, the St. Louis Rampardos are staying in St. Louis. We will not be moving to Los Angeles. I do not want to rebrand the whole team, especially since so many of you guys have purchased new t-shirts, things like that. It's really, I don't want to make you guys like go buy new shirts because the name changed. That's really dumb. So we are staying in the St. Louis Rampardos. We're going to continue to head smash our opponents from St. Louis. So anyway, let's jump into the teams here. We were able to face Lars back in like week 3 or so, and we did come out with a 3-0 victory, but his team is incredibly scary. I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is definitely the hardest team I've ever had to prepare for in terms of how it matches up against my own team, and I really had to make some tough calls here in terms of our team build. I also asked for some assistance. I had my good friend Joey, PokeMD, help out a little bit, so thank you, Joey, for your assistance on a couple of the sets. Just give me some ideas, and we kind of bounce some ideas off each other to kind of change the dynamics of the team. So you might be a little surprised about what we're bringing, but I trust in Joey and I trust in my own playing abilities, and I think we have a good chance to come out with a W here with the team we brought. So looking at Lars's team, kind of running through his roster here. Actually, maybe it's better to talk about what he brought the first time before we do anything, but I'll talk about his roster. He's got Landorus Incarnate, which is not banned in the GBA. We actually consider it a tier 1 mon, so it's one of the higher and best Pokemon in the league. Is in the top, I think, 10 or 15 for kills so far. This thing is a monster. There's a reason why I went to Ubers and Smogon, but because of that 4x Ice Weakness, we feel in the GBA it can be exploited, so we do have it allowed here. He's got an Azumarill, which we were able to beat last time when we played him with a Hyper Voice from Sylveon. He expects us to be defensive, but Azumarill is a very, very tough Pokemon for us to beat. Because if it runs a Choice Band, it pretty much 2-hit KOs our entire team, aside from Mega Aggron, who can live Superpower, Adamant Choice Band Superpowers, and take another one, but only if I'm from full. So we do have to keep that in mind. Belly Drum Ozzy with Aqua Jet absolutely destroys our entire team, so that's another thing we have to keep in mind, and we just have to ensure that he does not set up a Belly Drum against us. Definitely top priority to weaken that Ozzy as soon as I can to kind of open up some room for some of my other offensive Pokemon. He's got a Crobat as well, which he used last time to basically check our Heracross, which we did not bring last time. He brought it with Super Fang and Brave Bird, as well as Taunt and Roost. The Taunt obviously stops our Smeargle. He's got the ability to run Defog on it as well, so I don't feel like I should prioritize hazards, because I do feel that Crowbat is most likely to come his Fluttermouth, so I think he's going to bring his Crobat. He's got a Cobalion, which he did not bring last time. Cobalion rocks an impressive 108 base speed stat, so it's pretty fast, but it lacks a little bit from an offensive perspective. It does have the ability to Volt Switch, things like that. I'm not sure if he's going to bring the Cobalion. I think if he does, it's actually probably a positive for me, as I did prepare for it, but it's less of a threat than some of his other stuff. He's got a Tangrowth as well, which he brought last time. He brought an Assault Vest Tangrowth with Aerial Ace, which does kind of check Heracross, but not in its entirety. He can't switch into 2 Mega Horns, so you know, he's got his Tangrowth there, which is a very bulky Pokemon. I think the AV Tangrowth makes the most sense, but he may choose not to bring it this time just because of Victini and things like that. He's got a he made 2 free agent moves to just point as well. He dropped his Regirock and his Sandshrew and picked up Delphox and Luxray. So by dropping his Regirock, that means he has 1 less response to Victini than he would have had in the previous matchup, and Delphox adds a lot of offensive pressure on that that he could put on my team. He can trick me a Scarf. He can obviously have a wide variety of moves, including fire and fairy moves. He gets grass type moves. He can run like a White Herb Solar Beam with Magician and steal our item. Delphox is a serious threat. Obviously, it gets the Psychic Stab. It's a serious threat, especially with Psyshock. Can really handle a lot of my team, so I wouldn't be surprised if he brought the Delphox. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if he drafted Delphox for us. In all honesty, so we have to be very, very careful for that. Luckily, Victini can actually switch into it pretty well, unless he goes for Shadow Ball. We do resist both stabs, but Victini is not really designed to take hits in most cases, especially if you run offensive Victini. He's got Slowking, which is Regenerator Core with his Tangrowth. However, it doesn't really match up too great against my team. He didn't bring it last time. Could bring it this time. I prepared for it, obviously. Scolipede, impressive speed, has the ability to set up hazards and things like that. He could set up Toxic Spikes and Spikes. He can do a number of different things with Scolipede. Offensively, I don't expect it to do too much against my team if he brought it, but he has the ability to pass speed boosts onto something, potentially like that Azumarill, or maybe his Landorus or something like that, so we have to keep an eye on that. Druddigon, he did bring last time, and I expect him to bring again. Rocky Helmet, Rough Skin Druddigon can actually take 2 V-Creates from a Victini if I'm Choice Banded, so it ends up being such a great response to Victini, especially if he gets up Stealth Rocks. It gets priority with Sucker Punch. It gets Dragon Tail to phase me out, which is what he did last match. He ended up Dragon Tailing my Victini in a bunch of times. It also has the ability to run Gunk Shot, which can hit Sylveon and do a big chunk to it. So his Druddigon, I think, is a very good utility Pokemon on his team, and I expect him to bring it because it's his greatest response to Victini, and he almost has to bring it. If he doesn't bring Druddigon, that is really going to open the door for some of my other Pokemon. And last but not least, he's got his Mega Emo or his Mega Absol, which he's taken quite a liking to, and it actually, I think, picked up 4 or 5 kills last week. The thing went absolutely off on a tear, and I don't think people expected Mega Absol to be that viable of a Mega in the format, but it's proven, Lars has proven to use it very effectively and very well against his opponents. So we do have to watch out for that. Obviously, can carry Pursuit for Victini. The Sucker Punch is obviously their knockoff to get rid of items and just hit hard. He also gets the coverage of carrying Fire Blast and Iron Tail. Fire Blast has an opportunity to, it's a 3-hit KO on Aggron, but with some chip damage, he could 2-hit KO with Fire Blast, and he also has the ability to run, which does more than Superpower. He can run Play Rough too. He's got Move Slot Syndrome against me, so he kind of has to run Fire Blast for Aggron. He kind of has to run Iron Tail for Sylveon, and then he's going to carry Sucker Punch knockoff and maybe switch one of those two out for something else. Play Rough potentially, I doubt it. Could potentially decide to go with Pursuit if he wants to try to Pursuit Trap Victini, something like that. So those are all things to kind of keep in mind with his team. One of the things that makes Lars' team so challenging to team build for is the fact that his team is so fast, and then the Pokemon that aren't fast, they're really bulky. So he did a really good job in his draft, and he's got a very impressive team. So we're going to do our best to try to come out with a W here and pick up another win and move to 7-2. That would be wonderful. 7-2 sounds a lot better than 6-3. So anyway, let's jump right onto our team here, right? So the first Pokemon we're bringing, we decided not to bring our first week. We're actually bringing our Heracross this week, and I toyed between a couple of different sets, but I decided to run a Choice Scarf Adamant Heracross with Moxie instead of Guts, as he doesn't really have too many status inducers. Mega Horn obviously hits a lot of his team. Even the things that resist it don't want to take Mega Horns. Stone Edge actually has a chance to OHKO the Crobat depending on the spread, and we're obviously Scarfed with just enough speed to outspeed Max Speed Crobat. We have Adamant. I don't think he's going to bring Max Speed Crobat in all honesty. I think he's going to bring bulky set, but either way, I just wanted to be safe. We outspeed Max Speed Crobat with our Scarf. We're Adamant Nature. We have the Moxie, potential boost. We got knockoff in close combat. We can kind of scout around early game with the knockoffs, try to knock off some items, maybe help us out a little bit there from a utility perspective. Close combat obviously hits a couple different things hard. If we don't want to miss, Mega Horn is going to hit things really hard. And even Pokemon that have resisted, like his Landorus and his Azu, they're still taking 30-40% from the hits that are resisted. So, and chances are they're not going to have really reliable recovery on those Pokemon. By the way, if you hear any noise, I apologize. Background noise. Next Pokemon bringing is our Aggron, our Megatron, bringing the exact same set we brought the first time we played Lars. We're actually going to be bringing our Heavy Slam, which is going to do a lot of damage to a lot of his Pokemon. Earthquake for Cobalion, Toxic there just for general poison, and Rest to recover up. Aggron has a chance to wall a lot of his team. It can completely shut down a lot of his team. So running Rest the last time proved to be very useful because I was able to actually make Aggron have essentially 3 lives as opposed to just once because it doesn't have recovery. So I'm going to pair that with Heal Bell on another Pokemon later. You'll see, but I think this Aggron could put in quite a work. It might actually be my dedicated lead as well to kind of stop him if he wants to lead with Azu, but this Aggron can put in a lot of work, and I look for it to be the big defensive monster that we need it to be. Obviously, it's challenging because his team has Landorus, which can OHKO our Aggron if he's Life Orb with Earth Power, so that's one of the few things in the game that can actually OHKO a Mega Aggron from full, so we'll have to keep that in mind and try to play around that. The next Pokemon we're bringing, we didn't bring the first time. We're going to be bringing our Blastoise here, our Shell Shocked, who's actually taken a few weeks off from the Rampardos matches, but I really look for him to do a lot of work this week. We're going to be bringing in Max Defense, Max HP Blastoise, carrying Scald, Icy Wind, Toxic, and Rapid Spin. Rapid Spin is going to allow us to remove those hazards if he gets up Toxic Spikes or Stealth Rocks, and then of course we have the Scald for general burns. I looked through his team and I realized there's not a single thing in his team that wants to switch in and get burned. Nothing on his team wants to take a Scald and get burned, except for maybe, you know, Slow King, which I don't think he'll bring. If he Tangrowth gets burned, then that's a win for me. I get to wear that thing down a little bit better, and I can switch into Tangrowth with Aggron. You know, and Crobat doesn't want to get burned. Ozzy doesn't want to get burned. Landorus takes super effective Scald. Icy Wind is there instead of Ice Beam because Blastoise isn't really going to do too much damage anyway. It's not really a big offensive Pokemon, but having the ability to Icy Wind something to potentially slow down a Scarfer to allow something else to outspeed it on my team, force some switches, whatever it might be, could really pair well, and you'll see that's not the only time I run something like Icy Wind on this team this week. So I really think Blastoise can do a lot of work. I originally had Jolteon slated for this position where Blastoise was. Spoilers, we're not bringing Jolteon. As much as Jolteon has a great matchup against this team in terms of its speed, I found that Jolteon ends up just Volt Switching out on most things, not doing a whole lot of damage, and then just letting something else take hits, and I don't like that. While it gives me the momentum, I feel that I can predict and make the decisions we need to make in terms of making doubles and things like that. I think Blastoise gives us one other answer to Druddigon, which I have to get out of the way for Victini. It gives us one other thing that can come in on a Azumarill, and while I can't do much back to him, there's the threat of a potential burn there. I can take a hit from Landorus and hit him really hard. We can obviously take hits from the Crobat, and we can stop the Cobalion. We can, you know, maybe take a hit from the Delphox, and just generally, this Blastoise can stop a couple different things at his team. I could take a hit from the Absol, threaten him out, potentially burn him with a Scald, etc. So I think Blastoise is the way to go. The next Pokemon we're going to be bringing this week is our Uxie, and Cerebro here is rocking pretty much the same set we brought the last time we faced Lars, with that Colbur Berry to help us against those knockoffs, carrying U-Turn and Ice Punch to hit the Landorus as hard as possible. We've also got Heal Bell there to go in conjunction, and nice synergy with our Mega Aggron, who is going to be resting, taking some naps. I can hopefully Heal Bell those that sleep turn off with my Uxie. And last but not least, instead of carrying Stealth Rocks this week, I decided to run Yawn. The reason being is he might carry Defog on Crobat in the first place to get rid of the rocks. He also has his Magic Bouncer Mega Absol, which comes in on Uxie pretty well. So I felt that Yawn was really cool. I could potentially phase some things out. I could force some more switches just like the Icy Wind will do. And I could potentially put something to sleep, which kind of renders one of his Pokemon useless for, you know, a few turns anyway. So that could be really good for Uxie. I haven't used Yawn yet, but we're actually, you know, I think it could work. So we're max HP, max special defense, obviously, and that's going to be our primary response to Landorus Incarnate, as we can take pretty much anything from him. He goes to the knockoff, we have the Colbur Berry, not a big deal. If he's specially offensive, Earth Power doesn't do anything to me. He carried Sludge Wave last time because he needed the coverage for Sylveon, and he'll probably still need the coverage for Sylveon. And then his last move slot, he actually brought Rock Polish last time, but Uxie can beat the Landorus one-on-one. So the next Pokemon we're bringing is our Captain, who almost didn't make the team this week, but I really, after looking through his team, I was like, you know what, I gotta stick to what I know is going to be effective, and even though he's got that Druddigon, Victini can still put in a lot of work. We are a Choice Scarf Victini, so 2 Scarfers this week in Heracross and Victini. We've got an Adamant Nature Choice Scarf with enough speed to outspeed Crobat again, so any of his Scarfers are going to outspeed us, whether it's Lando Scarfed, or Crobat Scarfed, or Cobalion Scarfed, or Delphox Scarfed, or Sculpey wouldn't be Scarfed, but any of those are going to outspeed us, but I'm not that concerned about those Mons as much. Victini's got V-Create and Bolt Strike. Both of those are going to hit incredibly hard. V-Create actually 2-hit KOs pretty much everything on his team. Except for the Druddigon, and Bolt Strike obviously can hit the Azu really hard. We have a lot of different options here. We've got the U-turn there just for general momentum. We can't really go U-turning around until that Druddigon is gone, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. Victini's one of those Pokemon we're going to save in the back till the end of the match. And Glaciate there, even though I'm adamant, I felt that Glaciate was a really cool move, as it does hit the Lando super effective 4 times and drops his speed stat, and then we can also hit the Druddigon surprisingly and drop that thing's speed stat, and just anything. Like, we can speed control with that too. So Icy Wind, Glaciate does the same thing as Icy Wind, it's just a little stronger. A lot of people forget that it has that secondary effect, but it could be pretty useful that we can get those speed drops with the Glaciate. So I think our Scarf Victini could put in the work. Again, it like 2-hit KOs everything in his team. I had to bring it. I wanted to bring Banded, but again, that Druddigon was just too scary. So we're bringing that Scarf Victini again. Now, last but not least, to round out our lineup for this week is going to be our Earhart Salamence, who's got 10 kills so far this season and has led the team in terms of its offensive presence. This time, we're actually bringing a mixed Salamence with a Life Orb again, kind of our wall-breaking Salamence we've brought in the past. We've got 100 HP EVs, 156 speed, which allows us to outspeed Absol, max speed Absol prior to Mega Evolution. We've got max special attack with intimidate, so we're kind of a bulky-ish kind of Salamence here, but definitely offensive. We've got the fire blast there as it hits the Tangrowth. It's gonna hit it's gonna hit just the Scolipede, obviously. It's gonna hit a couple different things pretty hard, the Cobalion, which is nice. We've got Draco Meteor, which is our hardest hitting move, and this thing absolutely destroys pretty much everything in his team. Max is special attack, mild nature, Life Orb, Draco Meteor, just gonna hurt everything aside from Azumarill. So we do have to be very careful with the Azu switching into the Dracos and basically nullifying our turn. But last not least, we have Earthquake as well, which is going to just hit everything pretty hard. It's going to be able to hit that Delphox if we want to. It's going to be able to hit the Cobalion. It's going to be able to hit the whatchamacallit? The Druddigon, and of course the Azu when it comes in. If I didn't just say that, if the Azu switches in, I can hit it with an Earthquake instead of the Draco Meteor, and it does about 40%, so pretty decent. And if I can wear that thing down, then Heracross might be able to wear it in. So kind of the team synergy here is that we have these big hitters, Victini, Salamence, and Heracross, all kind of firing off these huge nuke hits where they're supposed to just tear holes in his team, and then hopefully one of those three can pick off the big threats, and we can kind of win with some of our support Pokemon as well. We've got Roost there for the last move on Mence, just to give us a little bit of HP back as well. It also makes us only 2 times super effective weak to HP Ice while we Roost, and it could give us some HP back if we predict a switch or something like that. So that is going to be our lineup, guys. We have a very tough matchup here ahead of us. So the Rampardos are going to do our best, as always, to try to head smash our opponents to victory. I'm going to do my best, guys. I think we did a really good job of the team build here. I think the team is what it needs to be. I'm very confident with it. But Lars has shown himself to be a great battler this season, and we did best him the first time. It's going to be very challenging to do it again, but we're going to do our best. He's got such a good team on paper, guys. But that's going to be it for me, guys. My name is Dan. I'm the coach of your St. Louis Rampardos, and I'm going to catch you guys later. Peace.